A very good evening. These news at 9 live from the news studios of Rupavahini.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Sharma Squeenness.
And I'm Rohan Mendis.
Minister of Labour and Social Affairs of Iraq, Nazar al-Rubai, called on President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat today. President Mahinda Rajapaksa emphasized the importance of re-establishing the bilateral relationship between Sri Lanka and Iraq as it had been before. Iraq Minister Rubai expressed his gratitude to President Mahinda Rajapaksa since Sri Lanka has re-established diplomatic relations between the two countries. Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Pires invited Iraq Labour and Social Affairs Minister Rubai to bring Iraq delegation to the Business Forum prior to Commonwealth Heads of State meeting. A distinguished gathering including the Iraq ambassador in Sri Lanka, Batan Taha Khalaf Thali, Ministers Dilan Pereira, Gamini Lokuge and the Secretary to the Ministry of External Affairs, Kanna Tilakamunagama, also attended the discussion. Meanwhile, the leader of the Indian Janata Party, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, called on President Rajapaksa this morning. The political situation prevailing in both countries and several other important factors were discussed at the meeting. President Rajapaksa also explained the legal issues faced by the Indian fishermen who illegally engage in fishing activities in the Sri Lankan waters. The President also pointed out that the heads of fishing industry and boat owners should be created awareness towards this factor. External Minister Professor G.L. Pires and the Secretary to the Ministry, Kanna Tilakamunagama, were also present on the occasion.
Well, the Tamil National Alliance is charged that it is engaged in politics by arousing communalism. The objective of the party is to achieve narrow political gains by distorting the minds of the Tamil community. Sri Lanka Freedom Party pointed out that the public should be vigilant towards this narrow initiative. Minister Dalasarha Peruma made these observations at the SLF media briefing held in Colombo yesterday. Minister Dalasarha Peruma said that the TNA should understand the statement made by UN Human Rights Head, where she said that the ATT was a brutal organization, and added that the TNA should not take the country back to the era where the people in the country had lived with no expectation in their lives.
TNA සංවිධානයේ වගකීම අපි කොහොමද බැහැර කරන්නේ? අලුත් තර්කයක් සමාජගත කරන්නේ. මේ ඔබේ වගකීම. මේ රටේ නැවත ඒ අපේක්ෂා බංගත්වයට ජනතාව පත් කරන්න කටයුතු කරන්න එපා.
The present government under the leadership of President Mahinda Rajapaksa strived enough to end the 30-year devastating war. The minister also pointed out that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party had never presented election manifesto which aroused communalism. Minister Dalasarha Peruma said that the UPFA would never sow communalism in the country to achieve narrow political gains. The objective of the government is to establish a conducive environment where all communities could live with due respect. The minister also added that the government would never allow terrorism to raise its ugly head again in the country.
Minister Vimal Veerawansa said that there is a conspiracy being triggered off to split the country by destabilizing the parliament. The minister accused that the Tamil National Alliance and the Human Rights Commissioner of the UNA are trying to create a clash among the communities. Minister Vimal Veerawansa said that the policies of Prabhakaran are being brought to the stage to arouse communalism among the communities. The minister accused that the human rights head is trying to pay floral tribute to the Nandi Kadal, while the TNA MP Suresh Premachandran said that there should be weapons in the hands of Tamil youth in order to bring a solution beyond federalism. The minister also pointed out an instance where the former justice and the present candidate Vigneshwaran said that Prabhakaran was not a terrorist but a hero. The minister went on to say that they are all out to kick up communal rights in the country. Adding further, the minister said that the Tamil National Alliance wants to become decision makers in the parliament by destabilizing the country.
අස්ථාවර පාර්ලිමේන්තු බලයක් සහිත අනාගතයක් මේ රටේ ඇති වෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙන එක වළක්වන එක මුළු මහත් ජාතියේම යුතුයකම හා වගකීම වෙනවා.
The minister made these observations at a ceremony held to grant housing aids to the government servants. The ceremony was held at the Maharagama Youth Council yesterday, where 570 million rupees was granted to 1,450 government servants.
Minister Basil Rajapaksa pointed out that the election manifesto of the Tamil National Alliance had paved the way to create a chaotic situation in the south. The objective of this election manifesto is to take back the northern people to the past bitter era. The minister expressed these views to the Sudaroli newspaper. Those who have now a clear and proper vision about the provincial council system are making several statements in order to achieve narrow political gains. The political manifesto of the chief candidate of the TNA CV Vigneshwaran was launched recently. Minister Basil Rajapaksa accused that the objective of this party is to make the people in the northern province stranded and to demolish the hard-earned freedom to the northern province. The minister also pointed out that the political manifesto of the TNA has been prepared by a group who does not know the heartbeat of the Tamils in the northern province.
Sri Lanka Youth Lawyers Association said that the Tamil National Alliance cannot be allowed to split the country or to change the constitution of the sovereign nation. They made this observation at a media briefing held in Colombo today. The lawyers also pointed out that the former Supreme Court Judge Vigneshwaran had pledged to safeguard the unity of the country. The Secretary of the Sri Lanka's Youth Lawyers Association, Attorney at Law Manoj Gamage, said that they vehemently condemn the activities of the Tamil National Alliance, which is all out to get what was not possible with the armed struggle. He also said that the former Supreme Court judge had pledged to safeguard the unity of the country and added that he would accept unison of the country.
Well, TNA Vani district political leader Mutammil Selvam crossed over to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party along with 63 activists. They pledged at a public meeting held in Samayapuram in Vavuniya recently that they would be committed to the victory of the UPFA. North Central Province Chief Minister S.M. Ranjit Samrakon granted SLFP membership to them. They said that President Mahinda Rajapaksa is the only leader who is committed to end terrorism and develop the country. Meanwhile, the former Mana LTT Sea Tiger leader Balasuresh obtained SLFP membership from Minister Susil Premchand. Balasuresh and his wife pledged their fullest cooperation to the present government. Deputy Minister Sarat Kumar Gunaratna was also present on the occasion. President Mahinda Rajapaksa paid his last respects to the mother of Minister Maitripala Sirisena, the late Nandavati Sirisena, today. President Rajapaksa, who visited her residence at Polonnaruwa, where the remains were lying, paid his last respect. The President also expressed his condolence to the members of her family. The Secretary to the President, Lalit Veeratunga, and Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa also paid their last respects to the late Nandavati Sirisena. The final rites will take place at 3 p.m. in Polonnaruwa tomorrow.
In other stories, international intellectuals pointed out that Sri Lanka was able to prove that terrorism can be defeated by eliminating terrorism from the country 4 years back. They pointed this out at the Defence Summit for the year 2013, which ended today. The Defence Summit commenced on the 3rd of this month and it was organized by the Sri Lanka Army. Several proposals and issues of the regional stability were lengthily discussed at the summit, where intellectuals from Sri Lanka, United Kingdom, China, Germany, India, Bangladesh and Pakistan were present. 6 sessions on topics including reconciliation, nation building, national security and regional viewpoint were held. Indian former Minister Dr. Subramaniam Swamy said that Sri Lanka's post-war well management has immensely contributed to the regional security. Professor Rohan Gunaratna delivered the last address at the session on terrorist activities. Dr. Clive Vincent also addressed the summit.
Creation of those welfare centers.
Sri Lanka's case, it is the only country, post-conflict country that I have worked in where there has been a clear military victory. Sri Lanka is in right now to make best use of those funds, and I seriously encourage the international community to work with the government to tap into that particular area of support as they move towards peace building.
Well, the Malaysian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Azmi Zainuddin, says that with the rapid economic growth that Sri Lanka achieved in the last few years, Malaysian investors have been attracted to invest in Sri Lanka. He made these remarks at a reception held in Colombo last night to celebrate the 56th independence of Malaysia. Malaysia achieved independence from Britain on the 31st of August 1957. In the last 2 decades, Malaysia has undergone tremendous growth and prosperity and has made significant progress in relations. Many attribute the country's success to the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Mahathir bin Mohamad, who led the country from 1981 through to 2003. Malaysian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Azmi Zainuddin, said that under President Mahinda Rajapaksa's leadership, the relations between the two countries have been further strengthened.
As Malaysia celebrates her 56th Independence Day, we are also celebrating the 56th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Malaysia and Sri Lanka. Both our countries continue to enjoy warm and cordial bilateral relationship. The close relations has been strengthened with several meetings between our political leaders, especially between His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Muhammad Najib Tun Razak. Sri Lanka is also one of Malaysia's major trading partners in the region. The trade between the two countries reached yet another milestone last year. There is indeed plenty of room for expansion in our trade relationship. Malaysia continues to be one of the leading foreign investors in Sri Lanka. The rapid growth experienced by Sri Lanka in the past few years has contributed to the encouraging upward trend in the number of volume of Malaysian investments in Sri Lanka.
Minister Professor Tissa Vitarana, Tissa Karaliadda, Jagat Balasuriya, Nirupama Rajapaksa, A.H.M. Fauzi, many other people's representatives, diplomats and many distinguished invitees graced the occasion.
Minister Dallas Alaperima briefed the cabinet about the bilateral relation that became possible during the official visit of President Mahinda Rajapaksa in Belarus recently. It is planned to establish a joint commission on trade and economic cooperation for the development of economic ties between the two countries. A delegation from Belarus is to visit Sri Lanka with a view to establishing a tractor and agricultural machinery assembling plant for which a partner from Sri Lanka will be identified for a joint venture. It is also planned to explore flexible conditions on prices for the export of fertilizer to be worked out, while cooperation in the fields of dairy production and cattle breeding was also discussed. Smart Sri Lanka, an ICT development strategy for Sri Lanka, is to commence next year. The primary objective of this initiative is to achieve national economic development by bringing the dividends of let within the teach of every village and citizen of the country. President Mahinda Rajapaksa has submitted this proposal. Rehabilitation project for Gingang flood regulation scheme will be implemented. Cabinet approval was granted to the proposal made by Nimal Siripal de Silva, Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources Management, to implement the said rehabilitation project at a total cost of 700 million over a period of 3 years from the year 2014 to the year 2016. A program to uplift the livelihood development of the Palmyra dependent families in the northern province is to commence. Palmyra-based handicraft training is to be expanded in the northern and eastern provinces, including Puttalam and Hambantota districts. The proposal made by Douglas Devananda, Minister of Traditional Industries and Small Enterprise Development, was approved by the Cabinet. Cabinet granted approval for the reconstruction of the Vakanda National Housing Scheme at Stewart Street, Colombo 2. The proposal was made by Vimal Veeravansa, Minister of Construction and Engineering Services, Housing and Common Amenities. Village-level public meetings and mobile services are to be developed under the Dayatikirla National Development Programme by the year 2014. Minister of Economic Development Basil Rajapaksa informed the members of the Cabinet that parallel to the Dayatikirla Exhibition 2014, community welfare services and mobile services are to be implemented, covering all Drama Niradhari divisions of the 3 districts of the Kurunagala, Kegal and Puttalam.
Well, Sluscom has hosted the Google CXO breakfast briefing on impact of policies concerning the Internet on innovation and economic growth. The Internet is a portal of enormous opportunity. How a country exploits this opportunity to facilitate innovation and economic growth will ultimately determine the level of prosperity of its people. The Sluscom CXO breakfast meeting on impact of policies concerning the Internet on innovation and economic growth, featuring a keynote address by and 11, Director Policy and Government Affairs of Greater China and Asian Growth Markets, Google, seeks to learn from the successes and failures of the implementation of policies concerning the Internet around the region and its impact on innovation and economic growth of those countries.
Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, YK Singha, praised the Northern Resettlement Program and the development programs of the country. He recently made an inspection visit in the northern province. Over 300,000 people were resettled in the northern province following the demining process. The infrastructure facilities of the province were expanded while the living standard of the people in the northern province were uplifted. The High Commissioner praised the initiatives taken by the government to provide a better life to the people battered by terrorism. Meanwhile, the Indian High Commissioner promised the opportunity for the students in the northern province to follow dancing and aesthetic subjects in India. The progress of the northern development projects, which are launched under the Indian funding, also came under the inspection of the High Commissioner. Northern Province Governor Major General G.A. Chandrasiri also attended the inspection tour.
Well, the common amnesty by the Saudi government for illegal overstayers ends on the 4th of November. Minister of Foreign Employment Promotion and Welfare Dylan Pereira requested the overstayers to arrive in the country before the amnesty period is over. It is announced that a 2-year imprisonment will be imposed on those who violate these rules. Imprisonment fines up to 30 lakhs will be imposed thereafter. It is calculated that over 9,000 overstayers are at the moment overstaying in Saudi Arabia. Out of 9,000 overstayers, 3,000 have already arrived in the country. During the common amnesty, 16,000 laborers have registered in Sri Lankan embassy in Saudi Arabia. The common amnesty period was due to end on the 3rd of July. However, the government of Saudi Arabia has extended the period up to November 4th on a request made by Sri Lanka from Saudi officials. The minister added that engaging in minor employment in Saudi Arabia illegally is very dangerous.
Netherlands delegation comprising of Netherlands businessmen arrived in the country. They had discussions with the chairman of the Sri Lanka Investment Board, Dr. Lakshman Jayavira. The objective of their visit is to explore business opportunities in Sri Lanka. Netherlands business community expressed their willingness in investing in the sectors including agriculture, gem and jewelry, power and energy and food production. They also agreed to set up a liquid milk production factory comprising of 500 milk cows in the north central province. The business community showed a keen interest in investing in Sri Lanka due to the political stability and the expedited economic progress. Sri Lankan ambassador in Netherlands, Buddhi Attauda, said that Netherlands would extend its fullest cooperation to commence factories which generate more and more employment opportunities.
Let's move on to the trading details of the Colombo Stock Exchange. move on to sports news now, and at the sports desk we have Sharifa. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Rohan, and a very good evening to you too. And here's the latest from the world of sports. Richard Gasquet from France was qualified for the semi-finals of the American tennis tournament. He was qualified to the semi-finals by defeating the super tennis star of Spain, David Ferrer. The match was played at New York City. Gasquet won the match by 3-2. It is after a long lapse of 6 years where Gasquet was qualified for the semi-finals. At the final match, he used to play with Spain's Rafael Nadal or Tom Robredo. Meanwhile, Flavia Pennetta from Italy defeated Roberta Vinci at the women's semi-finals for 2-0. At the final match, she is to play with Victoria Azarenka or Daniela Hantuchová.
A quick check on the weather before we go. Met Department forecasts that showers at several places in the western, Sabragamua, central provinces would spread to the northwestern province. The intermittent showers or thunder showers would develop in Ua, eastern, north central and northern provinces in the evening hours. A temporary strong wind can be expected. Met Department also alerts the people to be vigilant over imminent lightning strikes.
And that's where we end tonight's edition of Rupavahini News. Together with Sharon and Sharifa, I'm Rohan Mendis saying thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night.